Mucho gusto, mi nombre es Santiago Vélez y traductor oficial de Oliver Velez para Latinoamérica. En este podcast decidí emprender un viaje para conversar con aquellos traders que están en el camino, que lo han logrado, o aquellas personas que tienen algo que aportarnos. Esto es Conversando con Traders.
¿Cómo están, traders? En este momento me encuentro en Barcelona, España. Estamos en el almuerzo que se lleva a cabo después del evento del Live Trading Camp. Estuvimos sábado, domingo y lunes con Oliver pasando un rato muy especial, aprendiendo todas sus tácticas y técnicas para operar la apertura del mercado. Y ahora estamos disfrutando una gran cena después del evento. El día de hoy me encuentro con un personaje muy especial. Su nombre es Humme, un trader muy reconocido entre nuestra familia. Sé que muchos de nosotros le tenemos un gran cariño y hoy tengo el placer de poder sentarme aquí con él para poder conversar un rato. Sé que es un episodio que muchas personas han estado esperando y por eso estoy muy emocionado de que podamos encontrar este espacio para llevar a cabo este podcast. En este momento me encuentro reunido con el equipo de trabajo. Tenemos a Daniel, tenemos a Juliana, tenemos a Saúl, Jan aquí sentado conmigo y por supuesto Oliver. Tengo todo el placer de estar aquí sentado con estas personas magníficas. Así que, bueno, vamos a ver qué nos puede contar Jan. Jan, ¿cómo estás?
Muchas gracias por tus palabras tan amables, Santi. Estoy bien, pienso que tuvimos un par de días muy geniales y hoy hemos operado bien, pienso. Me alegro de estar aquí con vosotros, como siempre, y no sé.
Bueno, por el bien de esta entrevista, nos va a tocar hacer esta entrevista en inglés. Obviamente va a ser subtitulada, pero la idea de que sea en inglés es que realmente podamos expresar nuestras ideas de la manera más óptima posible. Así que a partir de este momento voy a cambiar de idioma y aparecerán los subtítulos. So Jan, just let's get right into it. Tell me a bit about your experience in trading. How did you really get into this world of trading?
Oh, that's a good question, Santi. That's a long time. Actually, I've been trading for 12 years now, and it all started in 2007 when my mom gave me 1,000 euros, and I decided to open a trading account to find out what trading was about. So I put it in a trading account, and I decided to buy some good options with that money. And a couple of days later, my 1,000 euros had changed to 6,500 euros, which means a 550% profit. So I thought I was the big guy. This is for me. I know how to do this. I'm going to be rich. Now, of course, a couple of days later, I was left with only 300 euros in my account. And I decided to take it from there, and I understood that I needed some good training and some courses or whatever. So that's how I ended up in trading. So I spent a couple of years looking all over the place for good training, good information. Made a lot of mistakes there as well. And then finally, in 2015, I found Oliver. And I signed up for his courses, later signed up for mentorship. Basically all involved in all the programs that iPhone Traders teaches. And, well, here we are.
It's amazing. I think trading just if trading is for you, I think trading will always find a way to reach you, you know. Once that bug bites you, I think there's no going back, and I think I felt the same thing, and I feel like that's your experience as well. I always get this crazy sensation that, and every time I want to do a podcast, I feel like sometimes the conversations before and after the podcast are even better than the podcast. And we were actually in the cab ride coming here, and we were touching on a very interesting thing, is that you don't really pay too much attention to psychology, and I think you're more oriented to the plan and to the process. So how do you really see that? What were you trying to tell me in the cab ride?
That's right, Santi. In my opinion, most let's say most problems that people think are psychological are really not psychological after all. They are just lack of knowledge and experience. In my opinion, many people have very little patience and try to be successful in trading too soon, where they really don't have the experience and the practice to be successful. So what that does is it gives a lot of fear to the trader, and it makes it very hard for the trader to really do a good job. Now, many people think that this is psychological problems that you have to overcome, but I tend to disagree. I believe that what you should do first is practice so much and try to improve your skills so much that you gain so much confidence in the method and in yourself that you will find yourself trading really peacefully. You shouldn't be nervous, and of course there will always be some psychological issues left to deal with. Absolutely, I'm not saying it's not important, but I do believe that too much attention is given to psychology, where the time should be invested in proper training and really studying the methods.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you know what? I myself am a person that is very interested in trading psychology and psychology in general. I'm very moved by the way just human beings are and how our mind controls us, you know? So I really think it's very valuable what you say to me, and the fact that maybe I can learn from this is that just you don't really need to think of the psychology if you just follow the plan. And I think that's something I really value from you. And there's a saying in our family is that I don't want to trade with like Oliver, I want to trade like Jan. You have a real fine way of literally following the plan to detail. And you actually told me that sometimes this plays against you. But I think everyone values a lot the way that you can actually follow a plan, the way you protect yourself and you actually look to maximize your gains is really, really, really impressive. And yeah, what do you think are some of the key values that let you actually follow the plan? Because I know there's a lot of people, including me, that sometimes have difficulties, especially in the trailing stop methods.
Well, so do you see, as Oliver always says, one of the main problems with trading is that, well, although it's actually it should be very simple, it's just not easy to do. And the reason for this is that people are wired completely wrong to be good traders. This is in many ways the issue that most traders will be fearful to give back their gains, where they should actually be fearful when they are about to lose money instead of giving back gains. But in my opinion, one of the hardest parts to master for traders is the numbers game. This is something that is very often mentioned, the numbers game, but very few people really internalize that. Numbers game meaning that you really understand and you really feel that what you have to do is perform a series of trades and accept the fact that a part of those trades are just going to be losses. Most people don't do that. They live in the trade. They only think about the trade that they're currently in. And they do not appreciate the fact that they should really think about a whole series of 20 trades that they're in and accept that the current trade may very well end up to be a big loss. I think this is one of the hardest things for people to really master and really internalize. And on the other hand, I think it's one of the most important things, because if you really understand this, you will find out that you are so much more peaceful in your trading, and it's much easier to deal with the emotions that you have, because you are no longer interested in the result of this particular trade. The way I like to think about this is that, you see, if, for example, if you have a tactic, and let's say the tactic is successful in 75% of the cases, then that also means that in 25% of the cases you will get a loss from this tactic. So you have to accept that 1 in 4 trades is just going to give you a loss, and 3 trades will give you a win or a break even. Now, the way I like to think about this is that if I'm in a trade and I get stopped out, so I hit the loss, So it's that one trade out of four that was supposed to be the losing trade. So I like to think of it this way, that I say, okay, market, you have just given me a loss. Now you owe me 3 winners. And if you think this way, you'll find out that it's much easier to accept a loss and to just the next time just apply the same plan in the same way. And in the end, you will be rewarded this way. This may be a way that may help people to internalize the concept of the numbers game, which I said before, I think is a very vital part of the trading business.
Wow, that's really special what you said right here, right now. And I really believe that it's so true what you're saying right now. I mean, I'm going to take it for myself, I'm going to internalize it, and really apply it to my trading and my life in general. Thank you.
If I may add to that the problem with the numbers game is also that it's a concept that's very easily understood. If anybody explains to you what the numbers game is about, everybody's nodding their head and saying, "Oh yes, I get it, I understand it." But understanding the concept is totally different from accepting the concept and actually and its implications. And this is where the problem is. This is the point where you have to get to.
Well, that's the point where we're going to get. There's this, I feel that in the LATAM community, we have a blessing and also a curse. And it's the fact that we're trying to do this in a community, you know, that you're a big part of it. You give a lot to the community with your posts about your trading and everything. And in this community, I myself, as a translator, find groups of people, different groups of people. You have very different groups of people that are very similar to me, and I feel like are very similar to you, that easily understood that it all depends on us, that we have amazing knowledge, and we just have to know how to apply it. But I also find some people that through this getting to know yourself, and through this process of experience, tend to get sour, you know? They tend to get greedy, they tend to get mad, and they start looking to blame someone else. I find this a lot in the group, and it might be a small minority, but it's a real thing. So when you were going through your dark periods where nothing was working, what was your state of mind? What really kept you in the game and sincere and not complaining and just understanding that it's about ourselves and not about the plan or Oliver or whatever you want to put the blame on? What were some tools that really helped you during these periods? And still today, probably.
Well, it's definitely true that many people have this like reflex when things are against them to look for someone to blame or something to blame, something that's outside of their control usually. Point a finger, so they don't have to just look in the mirror and see that ultimately the only one who can make the difference is themselves. Fortunately for me, this is I don't know how I ended up that way, but this has been something that has always been a concept that has been very clear to me in all my life. Honestly, I don't know where I got that, but I've always, in my adversaries in my life where things were all against me, I've always focused on myself and think I am the only one responsible for my own misery, and I'm the only one who can work myself out of it. I'm not saying that that means that it's easy. Of course, I have had my dark periods, especially in my trading development as well. It's at times it's just very frustrating, and it looks like you're not making any progress. And meanwhile, you're only producing losses. And although you know you're better, your account just doesn't show it. Just like Oliver always says, that's exactly true, and the same thing has happened to me. But ultimately, you have to I think the secret is many people underestimate the time that it takes to become a good trader. So, to me, I've always looked at it like a university career. If you want to become a lawyer or a doctor, nobody would hesitate and say, okay, I have to invest 5 or 6 years of my life in order to get anywhere to boot, and maybe even more later. However, trading, most people tend to underestimate that. They think they follow a course, practice for a couple of months, and be successful. This is just not the case. Although it may seem very simple, in reality, it stopped. And even though, for example, also like the last 3 days, Oliver uses 2 days, actually not even full days, to explain to us all that trading is really about. That doesn't mean we can do it. It requires a lot of practice and a lot of time. I think for traders, it would be very good for traders if they allow themselves this time, and if they understand that it's going to be a very long process, and that they shouldn't be giving up. So they shouldn't get frustrated that if things don't work out within a few months or 1 year. I think that would make in a way, I think it's actually, maybe you can push it even further and say, look, it also has to do with taking the profession seriously. And in a way, you could also say that many people actually almost insult the profession of trading by thinking that they could master this in a couple of months. It's just not possible. Compare it to becoming a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. A good trader also needs that time. And if you accept this, and then you make the choice to go for it, well, at least you know where you stand. Also in your darkest hours.
Yeah, wow. I think it's a special way to look at this. It's literally like a career, like you say. And now, I've actually been reading a book. It's called Siddhartha. It's Asian philosophies, but it's a story about Buddha before becoming Buddha. And that's exactly what he says. This Buddha, or Siddhartha, before becoming Buddha, actually meets a Buddha himself. Buddha means the enlightened one. Siddhartha means the one who made it, or the one who was enlightened. So he comes to the Buddha, which is already enlightened, and the Buddha offers him like a mentorship. And he says no. And it's literally because he tells the Buddha, listen, I think I've already learned everything I have to learn about you, but there's only one thing that you can't teach me, and that's all the experiences you've had.
Exactly.
That really touched me, because it's like, we know all the knowledge, like you said, in 3 days we got all the tactics and strategies, but no one can give us the experience Oliver has had, So I think that's what you're saying, and I think that's so powerful. And I love that we get to connect with a nice glass of wine. I got food in my plate, This is very special for me, and I love that Latam gets to hear this as well, Very, very special. Listen, Jan, I'm just thinking, like, I could speak with you for like 5 hours or whatever, especially with a glass of wine. I'm just thinking in the attention span of humans, myself, we're going to try to keep this a bit short so people can really digest it. But I really value the conversation I just had with you. Thank you from me and from all Latam, I'm very sure. I know this conversation will be very valuable for our people.
Thank you so much, Santi, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure we will get back to this. And perhaps follow up. Thank you so much.